In 18th century London, there was a class of women who lived in the shadow of the aristocracy, yet shone brighter than any queen. To the moralists, they were a plague. To the poets, they were goddesses. But to themselves, they were the ultimate entrepreneurs. This was the age of the high courtesan. In a century where a woman was legally the property of her father or her husband, a state known as coverture, these women chose a third path. They traded their company for estates, their wit for annuities, and their beauty for a level of fame we would recognise today as influencer status. But make no mistake, this was absolutely a gilded cage. Their lives were a high stakes gamble. To succeed, you needed the charm of a diplomat, the financial mind of a banker, and the skin of a rhinoceros. One wrong move, one bout of smallpox, or one fickle lover could send a woman from a mansion in Mayfair to the squalor of a debtor's prison in one single afternoon. Hello, I am Dr Amy Boyington, and today we are exploring the lives of the two greatest courtesans of the 18th century, Kitty Fisher, the woman who invented modern celebrity, and Emma Hamilton, the servant girl who became an international icon and the muse of an empire. This is the cold, hard balance sheet of the 18th century demi-monde. Before we meet our protagonists, we must understand the yellow pages of the 18th century sex trade, Harris's list of Covent Garden ladies. Published annually, this scandalous directory reviewed the city's courtesans like they were fine wines or racehorses. It listed their addresses, their physical attributes, and their specialties. It sold over 250,000 copies a year. This was the ecosystem our women navigated, a world where they were simultaneously public property and private luxuries. For the elite courtesan, the goal was to get off that list and into a private contract with a wealthy man, or, even better, to marry a respectable man and live a respectable life. Having said that, let's start with the pioneer, Kitty Fisher. In the mid-18th century, if you walked through Hyde Park in London, you didn't look for royalty, you looked for Kitty Fisher. To the gentlemen of the era, she was the ultimate prize. To the satirists, she was a scandal. And to the history books, she remains one of the most intriguing examples of how a woman could weaponize beauty and wit to conquer a society that was designed to exclude her. We don't know much about her beginning. Born in about 1741, she likely began as a milliner, a hat maker. But by the 1750s, she had reinvented herself entirely. She wasn't just a courtesan, she was a celebrity. She understood the power of public attention before the concept of influencer even existed. Kitty used her looks, her wit, and her charm to gain wealthy male lovers or protectors. These men slept with her, and in exchange she was given money, and as a result of that, she was able to remould herself. By 1759, the Town and Country magazine noted that her public appearance caused more of a stir than a royal procession. She understood that in the 18th century, attention was a commodity. She sat for Sir Joshua Reynolds 5 times, the greatest artist of the age, cementing her image for posterity, ensuring that she would never be forgotten. At her peak, Kitty was rumoured to have a maintenance, that is, an annual allowance, of £12,000. That is roughly about £2.5 million today, or $3 million in today's money. She lived in splendour and opulence, dictating the fashions of the age and entertaining all members of high society. She also had a rivalry with Maria Gunning, the newly minted Lady Coventry. Their rivalry was the talk of the town, sparked by Kitty's rumoured dalliance with Maria's husband, Lord Coventry. In a legendary encounter in the park, Lady Coventry attempted to put the commoner in her place, icily demanding the name of the dressmaker who had fashioned Kitty's gown. Kitty didn't miss a beat. With a sharp, practised smile, she suggested her ladyship simply ask Lord Coventry, since he was the one who had given her the dress as a gift. When Maria exploded, calling her an impertinent woman, Kitty's retort was a masterclass in social chess. She conceded the insult only because Maria's marriage had made her a social superior. But she coolly noted that she planned to marry a lord herself, if only to gain the legal right to talk back. It was a cynical, brilliant assessment of the era's gender politics. Kitty knew that in the 18th century marriage market, a title was the only armour that truly mattered. Kitty's playful personality is captured in this 1765 portrait by Nathaniel Hone. It is a masterpiece of witty symbolic portraiture that feels far more playful than the typical formal commissions of the era. The painting is fascinating precisely because it is a visual pun. By placing a cat on the edge of a fishbowl, Hone makes a clever, light-hearted reference to his sitter's name, a kitty watching fish. Kitty Fisher. This choice elevates the work beyond a simple likeness, transforming it into a charming narrative scene that highlights Fisher's celebrated wit and the mischievous public persona she had cultivated. And if we look very closely, we can see a window being reflected in the fishbowl. And if we look even more closely, we can see that it shows a lot of people peering in. This was absolutely Kitty Fisher's life. She was followed wherever she went. And here we have another amazing portrait of Kitty Fisher, this time dating to 1759 by Joshua Reynolds. In this portrait, we see Kitty Fisher reimagined through a lens of classical grandiosity that perfectly suited her reputation as a high-status celebrity. Depicted as the Egyptian queen Cleopatra at the legendary moment that she dissolves a priceless pearl in a goblet of vinegar to win a wager, Fisher is shown in a state of poised, opulent defiance. This historical role play was a calculated move. Just as Cleopatra was a woman of immense power and charm, Fisher used the imagery to lean into her own scandalous public persona. The choice of the pearl also serves as a subtle, knowing wink to her contemporary audience. It mirrors a popular, if perhaps apocryphal, anecdote of the time that claimed the extravagant Fisher once ate a £100 banknote on a slice of buttered bread just to prove she should, and just to prove how wealthy she was. By blending the ancient legend of the pearl with Kitty's modern-day notoriety for excess, Reynolds transformed a simple portrait into a powerful statement of self-promotion, cementing her status as the ultimate it girl of the century. In 1766, Kitty made a move that shocked London. She married John Norris, a Member of Parliament, a respectable gentleman. She had finally achieved the ultimate goal of the demi-monde, respectability. But unfortunately, she did not live long enough to enjoy it. On March 10th, 1767, she died at the very young age of just 25. While her death was officially listed as smallpox, historians point out that perhaps the culprit was ceruse. It was a lead-based makeup used to achieve that porcelain white skin that was used by all of the wealthy women of the day. It is believed that she literally poisoned her blood to meet the market demand for a specific beauty standard. Kitty Fisher may have mastered the art of being a legend, but she paid the ultimate price for the image she cultivated. If Kitty Fisher was the it girl of the 1760s, then Emma Hamilton was the undisputed superstar of the late 18th century. A woman who transformed herself from a blacksmith's daughter into a European icon. Born in 1765 as Amy Lyon in a small Cheshire village, Emma's beginnings were as humble as they come. The daughter of a blacksmith who died when she was an infant, she was raised by her mother and grandmother in a world of subsistence and struggle. By the age of 12, she was working as a maid. By 15, she had migrated to the bright, dangerous lights of London. London's demi-monde, the stylish but illicit fringe of high society, soon claimed her. Working as a model and dancer for a quack doctor named James Graham, she became a living advertisement for the scandalous Temple of Health. It was here that her career as a professional beauty began. Exploited by the times, she soon fell into sex work, and at the age of perhaps just 15, she became the mistress of Sir Harry Fanshawe, a boisterous baronet who famously forced her to dance nude on his dining room table, just to entertain his hunting friends. When she became pregnant, Sir Harry callously discarded her. Destitute and desperate, she turned to the Honourable Charles Greville. Greville was a cold, calculating man, much older than her, who agreed to take her in on the condition that she rebrand herself. Amy Lyon vanished, and Emma Hart was born. Under Greville's tutelage, she learned to speak with elegance, to dress with understated refinement, and to play the part of the perfect quiet companion. Greville, however, was more interested in Emma's marketability than her heart. To save on expenses and perhaps to turn a profit, he introduced her to his friend, the painter George Romney. The result was one of the most prolific artist-muse relationships in history. Romney became obsessed with Emma's infinite variety, painting her numerous times. He painted her in a variety of poses and characters, as a Sibyl, as Joan of Arc, and even as Mary Magdalene. These portraits were the 18th century equivalent of a global media campaign. They made Emma's face the most recognisable in Europe before she had even set foot in a royal court. In 1786, Greville's own financial ambitions led to a betrayal that would change Emma's life forever. Needing to marry an heiress, Greville packaged Emma and sent her off to Naples to be the mistress of his uncle, Sir William Hamilton, the British envoy. Emma was just 21 at this time, Sir William Hamilton was 55 or 56. Emma, believing she was going for a short holiday, was devastated to realise she had been traded like a piece of fine porcelain. However, Emma Hamilton was a survivor. She realised that Sir William, a widower and a passionate collector of Greek vases, saw her in a kindly light. She decided to make the best of his situation. She became his perfect companion, continuing her education and developing her famous attitudes. Using just 2 or 3 simple shawls and her cascading hair, Emma would strike silent, emotive poses that brought classical statues to life. People were spellbound by her poses, so much so that anyone who was anyone made a concentrated effort to see her when they visited Naples. And so Emma's fame continued to spread. Emma's rise didn't stop at being a mistress. In 1791, she did the impossible. She married Sir William. Now Lady Hamilton, she possessed a title and a legitimate place in the Neapolitan court. She became the best friend and political confidant of Queen Maria Carolina, the sister of the ill-fated Marie Antoinette. As the French Revolution shook Europe, Emma transitioned from a decorative artist to a political operative. She acted as a vital link between the British government and the Neapolitan royals. It was into this world of Mediterranean diplomacy that a battered one-armed naval officer named Horatio Nelson sailed in 1798, fresh from his victory at the Battle of the Nile. The meeting between the world's most famous hero and the world's most beautiful woman was explosive. Nelson was exhausted and wounded. Emma nursed him, praised him, and fell head over heels in love. Their affair was not conducted in the shadows. Instead, the tria juncta in uno, 3 joined in 1, Emma, Sir William, and Nelson, became a bizarre public trinity. They travelled together, lived together, and even returned to England together in a caravan of scandal that horrified the stiff-lipped British aristocracy. In 1801, Emma gave birth to Nelson's daughter, Horatia. To protect their reputations, the child was officially adopted under a thin veil of secrecy. But everyone in London knew the truth. Emma was Nelson's true love, the woman who gave him the domestic peace he craved between his bloody battles at sea. The peak of Emma's life was also the beginning of its end. In 1803, Sir William died, leaving Emma with a respectable but not extravagant income. 2 years later, the ultimate blow fell. Nelson was killed at the Battle of Trafalgar. In his final moments, Nelson's thoughts were with Emma. He added a codicil to his will, leaving Emma, Lady Hamilton, as a legacy to my king and country. He begged the British government to provide for her, believing his service to the nation earned her a pension. The British government, however, was appalled by the scandal and moved quickly to erase Emma from the narrative of the national hero. They ignored Nelson's dying wish. Without Nelson's protection, Emma's extravagant lifestyle, a habit she had picked up in the courts of Naples, became her undoing. She was a woman who knew how to spend £12,000 a year, but had no idea how to live on £1,000 a year. By 1813, the woman who had once been the muse of Romney and the confidant of queens was in a London debtor's prison. She was forced to pawn the very jewels Nelson had given her. Harassed by creditors and shunned by the society that had once clamoured to see her, she fled to France in 1814. Her final months were a grim contrast to the sun-drenched Palazzo Sessa in Naples. Living in a small apartment in Calais with her daughter, she turned to drink to numb the pain of her fall. She died on January the 15th, 1815, at the age of just 49. The cause was listed as dysentery, but most historians agree she was simply worn out by grief and poverty and heartbreak. Emma Hamilton's life was a masterpiece of self-invention. She was a model, an actress, a diplomat, and a mother. She challenged the rigid class structures of the 18th century by sheer force of personality. While the monuments in Trafalgar Square honour Nelson, the story of the woman he loved remains a powerful testament to the brilliance, the resilience, and the ultimate vulnerability of those who lived their lives entirely on their own terms. Ultimately, both Kitty Fisher and Emma Hamilton stand as defiant monuments to the power of self-invention in an age that desperately sought to keep women in their place. They were the original celebrity influencers, masters of the public gaze, who understood that in the high-stakes game of 18th century social climbing, beauty was a currency, but personality and the willingness to embrace scandal was the real engine of fame. While Kitty played the witty provocateur, using her razor-sharp tongue to challenge the aristocracy, Emma leaned into the performative, becoming a living bridge between the classical past and the modern theatrical present. Though both women faced tragic ends, their legacies endure not merely as muses for great artists or lovers of powerful men, but as bold, uncompromising individuals who navigated a male-dominated world with remarkable audacity. They proved that even when society holds all the cards, a woman with enough charisma, intelligence, and nerve can, for a time, hold the world's attention entirely in the palm of her hand. Thank you so much. I'm Dr. Amy Boyington, and if you have enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe.